Today is Thursday, January 14th. Thank you for joining in to our weekly PPACA webinars. If you are new to the format, these webinars are for your benefit and also for mine. We started long ago offering these webinars on a weekly basis just as a source of information because things change so rapidly in this industry that we thought it was just best to have a weekly sort of meeting to get your questions answered, learn any new updates on products, issues, etc., and then also have a place where you can get your questions answered. So there are a couple ways in which you can do that. You can either type in your question in the question box on the control panel to the right of your screen, or you can just raise your hand icon and I'll unmute you at the end of the webinar and you can ask your question live. So just with a quick show of hands, can you just let me know if you can see my screen? Awesome. Thank you, everyone. All right, so let's just get started into the agenda. First and foremost, open enrollment cutoff dates for a 2/1 effective date. High marks cutoff is tomorrow, the 15th. We will only take applications up until 10 a.m. to process, so just be mindful of that. Capital, you do have a couple extra days. Monday the 25th is their cutoff for 2/1. So again, just noon on Monday the 25th, we have to have those applications so we can allow time for processing. Any other questions on that, just let me know. Status updates, we're working through them. We're expecting a big dump from Capital this morning, and we're going to be getting those out through our systems. That's an automated process, so probably overnight you will receive those status updates. We are, again, working through these updates, and if you have specific issues or specific clients, the onesies or twosies that you want us to check on, just email your new business specialist, either Judy Reed or Katrina Weissman, and we'll start working on those. Problems that you should know about Aetna and Coventry, the 1/1s, and the commissions. So Aetna Coventry, as I mentioned last week, it was supposed to be specific to the FFM cases. They were issuing the plan, sending out billing, and then immediately terminating the plan. So originally they were going to make everyone call in that was terminated and they would fix it when the consumer called, but they did make a decision, thankfully, to run a report and catch those that they terminated. So again, I don't know that that's going to be a seamless fix. They never seem to be, or there never seems to be a seamless fix to any of these issues, but if you do have any issues like that with your Aetna Coventrys, let us know. Also, I'm awaiting the official announcement, but I did receive an email from our representative from Aetna Coventry on the under 65 individual plan model that as of 2/1, any business submitted after January 31st, they would not be paying commissions. So anything that you wrote for a 1/1 effective date or wrote and submitted or will submit up until January 31st, you will receive compensation, but you will not receive any compensation for anything that is submitted during the special election period. So not good news. Another carrier or carriers bite the dust, and unfortunately that seems to be the way this industry is going. Did just talk to Highmark. There were issues with payments, and anyone that sent a check, and this is what we're working through now, one of the many issues, but what we were told is that if a check was sent, their own forms require the last 4 digits of the social because that's a privacy issue. And what they determined was the bank was rejecting everything that didn't have the full Social Security number. So I did talk to upper management just a few seconds or minutes ago, and they did say that they are working through all of those checks. They identified all the issues, and they should have those checks posted by today. Again, if you have any of those onesies and twosies that fall through the cracks, and inevitably that's going to happen, just let us know. We're going to work through all of these issues with the carriers on your behalf, as we always have, to try to get these things resolved. It's not been fun this year, and I'm sure it's not been fun for you either. So on to the next bullet point. Good news. The ACA was voted on by the Senate and then the House to repeal, along with Parenthood was in there, but it was vetoed by our president. And I put, is anyone surprised? Of course not. It was going to be vetoed, but this was kind of monumental because it was the first time that the vote came originally from the Senate, or a vote was taken in the Senate and then passed on to the House, which inevitably again would result in approval of this bill to go to the president's desk. So it is the first time he actually had to put pen to paper and veto this. But again, no one's surprised that he did veto it. It would just have been wonderful, maybe, if he would have. Moving forward, every Thursday, of course, we have our webinar, and what's going to happen after this week, starting with next week's webinar, when you register, you're going to register not only for next week, but you're going to, just with one entry, register for the entire year. Now, that doesn't mean that you're obligated to join in or let me know if you can't. It's not that big of a deal. It's really more for convenience that you're signed up automatically for the entire year for our Thursday webinars. If you can't make it, your registration is going to allow for you to receive a recording automatically. So it's not a bad thing. I just wanted you to be aware of it so that if you keep getting reminders that you signed up for a webinar and you didn't realize you did, that's the reason. So again, that link is going to be in next week's newsletter and also on our site. The next bullet point, I did mention this last week. This is for, it's specific to group. Health America / Aetna, as of 4/1 effective dates, will be changing their name or their moniker to HAP, Health. I can't remember what it stands for. I apologize. But just so you know, up until, for now, you can get a Health America group quote, you can get an Aetna group quote, but as of 4/1, it will be a bit different name. What that means as far as plans or anything, I don't know yet, but we'll find out. Reminder again about the 2016 penalties for the employer responsibility. The Part A is $2,160 for 2016, and the Part B is $3,240. So again, just thought that was important to mention again. So we're going to now open it up for our open forum. If you have questions, again, you can just type them in or raise your hand. You just let me know if you're going to raise your hand. While we're pulling up the questions, a reminder that next Thursday, January 21st, is our next webinar. Again, every Thursday at 9:30. So I have a very interesting comment from Steve. He says, boo, Aetna stinks. So thought everybody might commiserate with that on the commissions. It's just, it's a sad situation. We work very hard, all of us, and this segment on the individual side for the under 65 market is a tough gig. It's a really tough gig. But at the end of the day, if brokers are not being compensated and general agencies are not being compensated, there's not going to be qualified and certified brokers to help all these consumers, and unfortunately that leaves them at the mercy of healthcare.gov or the navigator system, or the walk-in stores, or directly with the carriers. And unfortunately, I think consumer protections are really going to come into play, and we'll see how the industry goes. And for now, business as usual. We're just going to divide and conquer as best we can. Mike says, cutoff dates for Highmark and Capital for special SEP qualifying acts for those who had a canceled 12/31 Highmark policy that did not get replaced. That's a good question, Mike. So for the thousands, hundreds of thousands of folks that were terminated from Highmark as of 12/31, they weren't given another Highmark option. They were just terminated and needed to go back into finding another plan. They do have a qualifying event. So they do have 60 days from that date of qualifying event to make applications. So essentially, through the end of February, those folks can enroll. And you know, depending on when they enroll is the effective date that they will get. Sharon said her phone rang and she didn't hear who's not paying commissions as of 2/1, and that is Aetna Coventry, Sharon. So any applications submitted after January 31st for Aetna or Coventry will receive no compensation. Rebecca asks, how soon after payment will cards go out? And typically it's 7 to 10 business days. That's what we're always told. If a payment is made and they have their policy number, they can go to the carrier website and register and print out a temporary ID card. And again, if they have their policy number, then that should be sufficient for the providers if they do have services that need to be provided prior to you know, receiving their card. Jay says, Highmark has been cashing checks and not issuing policies, ? I have sent all 3, Highmark, Aetna, and Capital, to Judy because I cannot get answers of confirmation of issue on the business. I have written with each. I am sorry, but I tried on my end, and the carriers are now insisting I contact my GA. Yep. And Jay, you know, again, we're working through these statuses. We have 11 people working on these statuses. And the statuses have changed this year. Last year, and up until this year, for any Capital apps, we were able to go in and pull statuses from their site. Now we either have to call the onesies and twosies directly to Capital, or we have to wait for the weekly report. And the weekly report comes every Thursday. With all the business that was submitted, having to wait a week for this information is detrimental to all of us. So we're working through them. For Highmark, we are able to pull information from their website, and you know, again, but that's a manual process, so we're working through those as well. So Jay, if you do have specific clients, email me that information and I'll have somebody work specifically on those clients today. Kelly says another company bites the dust. What was that about Aetna? I missed that part. Okay, one last time, everyone. And I hate repeating bad news, but I guess I'm going to have to. Any business submitted after January 31st for Aetna or Coventry will pay no compensation. Any business submitted up to that point will pay. But again, anything after open enrollment, nothing during a special election period, they will not pay. Dave says, will the small group providers send these groups their Form A and B? Yes, Dave, they will. The carriers are getting that information out. They may get these forms from multiple sources. So yes, they are going to be sent out. Jay says, some of us attended CPHU, but I did not hear anything about brokers or GAs being heard and protected. What voice can we use? You can use the voice and certainly go directly to Commissioner Miller at the Pennsylvania Insurance Department. You know, I do think that all of us really do need to take a stand. And, you know, for these consumers, you know the sort of bad information that is being told out there from what should be reliable sources. So imagine an FFM worker talking to a consumer or one of your former clients and telling them that a particular plan and network is going to work for them when it won't. You know, where's the consumer protection there? Where's the ability for that consumer to you know, be made whole? You know, we as agents have to have errors and omission coverage. No one else does. So yeah, I would say go right to the insurance department because it's a concern. It's a concern that they can only deal with. Dave says, any more bad news about Capital individual commissions? No, just the bad news that we shared a couple weeks ago, whereas as of 2/1 effective dates, they dropped the compensation from $21 per member per month to $15 per member per month, and of course that's capped at 5 people per application. That's the latest bad news, Dave. I don't have any additional bad news on Capital. Gar says, in December I sent the FFM an email asking what brokers are supposed to do if carriers stop paying commissions. Are we allowed to charge a fee, and what might that fee look like? They have no answer. And Gar, they wouldn't have an answer, and even if they gave you an answer, I wouldn't trust it. We've gone through this directly with the Pennsylvania Insurance Department in a scenario in which a carrier dropped compensation in 2015. We talked about it when commissions are being paid and when commissions are not, and the answer from the insurance department and their legal team was no, agents cannot do that. So that's the bad news. Bill says, I know Aetna and Coventry are using different customer service numbers for each. Is it better for us to contact a broker line or contact each individually about client issues? Yeah, you're going to have to, if it's an Aetna issue, then it's an Aetna line. If it's a Coventry issue, it's a Coventry line. Again, Bill, if you want to give us details on the issues that you're having, we'll work through that. That's what we're here for. Dave says, why and how do the penalties get applied to small groups? They don't. For groups, Dave, under 50, the employer is under no obligation to offer coverage, employer-sponsored coverage at all. So there are no penalties for small employers. Jay says, I have found that there is no centralized customer service location for Highmark and Aetna. Therefore, the customer service phone number is useless because the call takers do not have access to one another's information, just an FYI. Well, you know, again, Jay, I know Highmark and Capital, Independence, all of the carriers that I mentioned, they like you to work through your general agency. That's why we're paid, and that's why you do your business through us. So we do have numbers and outlets that we can call them. So again, if you're having issues about specific clients, get that information to us, and we'll get them going. And Erica says, will existing Aetna and Health America groups now become HAP groups? What we're told, Erica, is that will only happen on the first renewal after 4/1. So if you're writing a 3/1 Aetna group or a 3/1 Health America group, pardon me, when they have their renewal 3/1 of 17, that's when the change would be made. All right, so that actually brings us to the conclusion of our questions for this week. Again, I just have this in bold and many, many exclamation points, because I do thank you for choosing to do business with URL and you know, your loyalty to us. You know, it's a difficult gig, and we're here to help, and I hope you take advantage of the help that we're offering, because as you know, I've made this comment so many times, but you know, for every status that we're getting, yes, it's issued, the client paid, we're getting probably about 3 or 4 where the carriers, and that's multiple, it's not just one specific carrier, but the carriers say, we don't have record of the case. So what we're trying to do is fix those issues prior to sending out, you know, a worrisome sort of email. So again, we're working through these. We have documentation of everything that we've submitted, so it's really, you know, again, a carrier issue, but so far they've been pretty good about working with us, unless it was clearly, you know, something outside of our control. But, you know, again, if you have issues like that, let us know, and that could be the reason that the statuses are slow to come, because we're not going to give you a status that the case was voided. We're going to work to get that case reinstated and then give you a status about making a payment for your client. Anyway, again, I thank you for your attendance, and hope you all have a great day. Stay warm. It's bitterly cold out, and again, thank you for everything, and hopefully we'll talk with you, and you'll join in next week on the 21st. Bye-bye.